Bro, AFK? Nah, chair gaming, what do you mean? Oh, by the way, treasure grinding. This gonna be sick, bruh. Oh my god, I can't paint on Facebook. Crazy. Is there gonna be another starter special? Because I'm almost to another 750. Oh, I don't have Rover yet. Oh, okay. These are gonna be some long into the future matches. Stages? Something. Oh, I guess I should probably tag Discord. Y'all, I'm live again. Nerds. Can I spell my name right? So how y'all doing? How's it going? How's it going? How's it going? I'm literally just treasure grinding tonight. And then it also probably will be a lot of yapping as well. At least that's my assumption. Yo, y'all can see my screens and my glasses. You got two screens. One's a laptop screen, the other one's a monitor. Bitch ass Philips monitor. When I say bitch ass, I'm the one who chose to get it. Yo, Jin, what is your Discord profile? Your favorite game is Furry Feet? What the fuck even is that? What the fuck is Furry Feet? It's what is I was mainly going to joke about how, oh my god, your entire Discord profile is animation, and like I'm obsessed with anime stuff. But then I noticed the actual funny part. What the fuck is Furry Feet? Also, why'd you call me Brayton? That's not my name, bro. Brayton. Sounds like you're trying to say Britain. Britain. The first time someone has commented on it? Really? I click on your profile. Okay, you want to know what I see? I see this, right? I see Jin just joined. I click on your profile. Furry feet. And that is fucking it. And then of course, at first I was just being like, "Oh my god, anime shit." But like, what the hell? Close enough. Brayton, my name is Brayden. D, not T. I know some people mix those, but lol. What does does that? Did you not know that's what your profile was? Fucking insane. People don't even know what their Discord profiles look like anymore. Wait, what the hell does mine look like? Damn lucky guess. Brayden and Brayton, first of all, are not the same. Second of all, what other name starts with B-R-A-Y? What other name starts with B-R-A-Y? Braylin? That's not an American name. Unless it's a woman. I wonder if I can change that to say Battlecast instead. It probably won't. Probably not. It was meant to be a Bray something joke.
even offline.
Well, if it was supposed to be a joke, make it something absolutely absurd rather than an actual
Click
name.
here to learn more.
Like, I don't even know. Why is that a joke, though? It's pretty clear my name is Brayden. Like, I'm pretty sure I put it everywhere. By the way, I don't know if anybody will be able to notice without me saying it, but today I'm playing Hollow Knight music instead of Hollow Knight Silksong music. So it's just Hollow Knight. You know, the true GOAT. My water was hiding my Luffy, bro. I'm literally just gonna be treasure grinding today. That's literally all I'm doing. If people come in here, I will be shocked. I will be shocked if people come in here. Also, can I just say, am I literally the only Battlecat streamer that isn't fucking Matt Shea that does face cam? No, there's Micra. But I don't think he's gonna be streaming Battlecats like ever again. I don't think he's coming back. I don't think Micra's coming back, Chad. But yeah, not a lot of Battlecast content creators are face cammers, you know? I'm one of the few. And I probably have the biggest forehead out of them all. I'm getting cold, because for some reason I decided to put my desk right under the AC. I might put a hoodie on. Hold up. I'm gonna start this level and then put a hoodie on. That is true. Most of them don't even talk. Kind of funny. Are Battlecast content creators even actual content creators half the time? Chad, you think I could pull off a straw hat? This shit's just for decoration. My head's too big. Actually, though, why does that not even fit my head? Why is my head too damn big for a straw hat? How the hell is that even a thing? Having a head that's too big for a straw hat. That makes no sense. Ugh, excuse me. But I'm now wearing a one-piece hoodie. Because like I said earlier, I'm way too into anime. Yo, JJK episode drop tomorrow probably. I hope. I think. I'm not sure. Fairly certain. Dude, hoods are so uncomfortable whenever you're trying to sit in a goddamn chair sometimes. Like, what am I supposed to do with a thick hoodie like this? Like, I want to wear a hoodie, but I don't know what the hell to do with the hood itself. I have no clue. It's so hard to get comfortable here. Put hood on? Shit, you right? Does this work? No, I've done it before where I put my hood over my headset, but I think this hood specifically is too tight but too bulky at the same time. Like, this headset is so damn big, bruh. because I got a big ass head, so in order for my headset to actually fit me, like well, oh my god, guys, look at the neck of my fucking hood. This is what this is terrible. This is fucking. What if I just do this, right? What if I just what if I just pull kind of like a Justin Bieber and I don't actually put the hood on right? And it's just up, but it's not like actually fully on. Uncomfortable as shit, bro. I love hoodies, but oh my god. Do not get them undersized. Get them oversized 100% of the time. Because like my head too big, bro. My head is too fucking big. Like I didn't actually think I had a big head until I bought a brand new headset or like headphones, and like they didn't fit me. They did not fit me. Like I do wonder how big are these headphones? Because like these are the most comfortable headphones I've like ever had. And I've worn a good amount of headphones. I've had these for ages. But like is it weird that I have to have big ass headphones? What brand are they? I don't even know. They've got a logo on them. I don't know what the hell that logo is though. I don't know what brand that is. Like I got them. No, I didn't get them at a Five Below store. I'm pretty sure I got them off of fucking Amazon. just at Amazon. I didn't go out of my way to get them specific. Like they were like $30 on Amazon. And I was like, hey, can I have these? And my parents were like, yeah. So I've had them for multiple years. Multiple years. I don't even know how long. I think it's been like 4 or 5 years, maybe. Had them for a while. They still work amazingly though. They are getting a little bit torn up though. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but on like, yeah, the foam's peeling. The foam's peeling, and then on the roof of it, that white, yeah, that white, that's picked off. Or I say picked off, it's torn. It's worn. I don't know how to describe it. But considering like they still work perfectly fine, is actually a miracle. Considering headphones these days, I feel like don't work well for a while, especially if they're comfortable. Maybe I just don't know a good brand though, because I have no clue what a good brand of headphones are. Not a clue. Because I like headphones, not earbuds, you know? So kind of gotta go with big and bulky. Because something I've learned is that if my ears can't fit inside the foam and like my ears are being pushed into my head by the sides of the headphones, then that's just not comfortable at all and I can't wear them. I can't wear those. That's something I've learned. So having big ass ears is also something I think I probably have. But that's fine. That is fine, I guess. How many people are in my Discord? Damn, I have like 150 people in my Discord. That's kind of crazy. That is kind of insane. You know what I wish I could do? Go back to streaming in the afternoon instead of the morning or the evening. Because afternoon streams peak. Afternoon streams are peak, bruh. Mainly because a lot of my community is like 9 hours ahead of me. And so whenever I stream this late, it's like way too early for them to be awake. You get a lot less viewers because of school and work. You'd be surprised. Because if I streamed in the afternoon for me, right? So that'd be 5 hours ago. What time is it for everybody right now? I need to know what time is it for everybody right now. Tell me in 24 hours. So like do the full 24-hour thing instead of just Because AM and PM is confusing. Would have been 2 p.m. for me. Well, no, I get that you're in my area, but I'm talking about like most people. I'm European. It's 1:45 a.m. King. So yeah, yeah. So like, if I were to stream 5 hours ago, would you be more likely to join, or more likely to stay and not hate that it's super late? Like, I'm sure you guys are used to it by now, but like, school can wait, but sleep will not wait. Sleep is going to tear you apart, or I guess lack thereof. Excuse me. But yeah, I think I would like to do afternoon streams. But unfortunately, I'm busy in the afternoons. That's why I don't do it. That's just why I don't. By the way, did you guys see that Micro posted a video? That I think summed up all of his Battle Cats videos and put them all into one. I don't want to do reaction content necessarily, especially to a video that long. But like, should I watch it? I already watched the first couple of episodes, so I don't know if there's anything new in the new one. That like is it just a summary? Is it just like putting everything all together? Because I don't really need to watch that.
DoorDash and Chase make everyday savings easier, whether you're stocking the fridge, refilling your pantry, or treating
Dude, I should have become like closer with Micro while I had the chance. He's getting to be a pretty big deal. Kind of insane, honestly. Okay, I'm looking at somebody in my Discord. Hold up. Hold the fucking phone. Hold the fucking phone.
Hey, Mappy, take me to the dentist.
Starting route. Heavy rain reported.
No worries. I installed some new advanced Bosch wiper blades.
Advanced?
Well, their rubber technology keeps my windshield streak-free and it's quiet.
Engaging quiet mode.
Wait, what?
Maybe your advanced wiper blades will calculate the quickest route to the dentist.
First of all, why does it say GTA 6? Second of all, why does it say Welcome to Vice City? Third of all, 200,000 hours? It's not GTA 6. That's not even out yet. Vice City is its own fucking game. GTA Vice City is its own game, by the way. That's the one I played growing up. But 210 hours. What? What? That is... that's gotta be fake. That's gotta be fake. That's gotta be fake. That's 22 years? Yeah, that's older than Discord. Literally impossible. That's insane, though. That is insane. Yeah, am I wrong? Like, does Vice City appear in other GTA games, or is it just its own game? Because I know for a fact there was a GTA game that was just Vice City. I don't know how much you guys know about GTA, though. That shit was, the great, though, for me. I loved Vice City, just because that's basically all I had. San Andreas I had access to, but that one was a lot, like, worse in terms of appropriation than Vice City, so I never actually played that one. GTA 6 is set in Miami? It's not even out yet, is it? So, like, no shit, they're not actually playing GTA 6. It's probably just, like, some sort of modded version of Vice City. That's my guess. Why do I have hair in my eye? Maybe that fixes my hairline a little bit. Just a little bit. What the hell am I going to do for the Great Abyss? Better question, what am I going to do for the moon? If I do all of Into the Future Chapter 1 tonight, I don't know how I'm gonna beat it. When shit you, right? Yeah, let me get out the Furaluga. Rover spam? With what fucking rover? That's the problem. I don't have rover. Get rover, I don't know. Returner mode quite literally ruins progression. Can't Uber carry with only 2 Ubers? I have 3. I have Furaluga, level 1 by the way. And you definitely can't Uber carry with just these 2 as your Ubers. Ava Unit 13 and Ava Unit 08. Because neither of them are carry. Skill issue, to be honest. Brother, I got this account 3 days ago. Fuck you mean skill issue? It's lucky enough as is that I got 2 Ava Ubers. Holy luck? The fuck you mean? Furaluga was from a plat ticket. I wouldn't call that luck. I haven't played Battle Cats in like 3 months. I haven't played in like, okay, well, probably the same amount of time. Because it's been like since November, since I started, or since I stopped like playing it big time. But 3 months isn't that long. 3 months is not a long time. Took me a while to get my first Uber. We just gotta be smart with it. One of my Ubers was guaranteed from an 11 draw, because this game gives like kind of a lot of cat food at the beginning of the game. Especially whenever you join in Lunar New Year. So I literally got basically a guaranteed 11 draw right as I logged in. So like, it is when you used to play like 3 hours a day. Well, that's just called ending an addiction. That's a good thing. Yeah, I only got 1 random Uber. And that was still thanks to the Lunar New Year rewards. Yeah, but like... fat cats? Damn. Real. Dude, why has Kamari not been getting online like at all? That's not what I meant to do. Like, he never does anything. Checking how many hours I put into my account. Dude, my old main profile had like 900 hours. My biggest regret in life is not getting that to 1,000. No, it's not. I do not regret that at all. I lost that shit and I was like, okay, it can go. I'm pretty sure I still have the inquiry code for it, for the account. So like, worst case scenario, what am I gonna do? Just email them? Email Pono so that I can get it back? Like if I ever miss it too much. You know, if I ever miss my Anubis, you know. I'm playing Battle Cats 2 right now and getting my ass kicked by Old Stritch. I'm so glad I'm not on an old account right now. My heavy grind slowed due to having barely anything on the Battle Cats to play on the Battle Cats. I mean, just don't heavy grind it. Battle Cats is not a heavy grind game, it's a casual game to play throughout a lot of time.
With Spotify Premium. Build, curate, and listen to your playlists uninterrupted.
Like it's a game that you should play slowly. Especially if you're nearing the end of the game. Because just playing it update by update will just ruin the experience for you. It's kind of like watching an anime that's posting episodes weekly and just watching them 1 episode at a time. After a couple years, I basically completed everything. Well, you can't exactly say that whenever they update every month to add something new. So like that kind of is just stupid because like let's say you play for 5 years and then you take a year off. That doesn't mean that you're still going to be fully caught up. That means there's still going to be something to continue doing. You know what I mean? I probably should have sent my, anti-floating out, but whatever. 750 hours? I still had more hours on my account. Just didn't want to have to deal with the labyrinth. Well, you don't have to play the labyrinth. Thank God you don't have to. Bro, my neck low-key hurts. Ow. If you could only get one Ultra Form, Gigapult or Vigler? Vigler, 100%. They both target the exact same shit, Vigler's just better. $11:02, proud of my time spent? That is insane. No wonder your grind stopped. Labyrinth and the Outbreaks are the only medals I didn't have. I think I was still missing all the Barons. I never did those gauntlet stages. So I was missing a lot of medals just because of that. I forget, this is a fucking Hollow Knight track? I forget about that. I feel like I hear this track in like YouTubers, background. And I never realized that it was a Hollow Knight track. I never realized. I should add that to my, back soundtracks. Jizo got an Ultra Form? Oh yeah. Overrated as fuck, but still. It is really good. I might just complete the stages I've never bothered to do. Well, I mean, yeah. Especially the challenging stages, like not necessarily gauntlets, but like, those hard stages, maybe Otherworld Coliseum, stuff like that. I love difficult stages in this game. Like doing Cat Claw Dojo 12-3 was actually a fucking blast. Because it's one of the few stages that's well enough designed that you can't completely Uber carry it unless you have very specific Ubers. And then it's also like doable without Ubers at all. My one critique with 12-3 is that there's like one main way to do it, and that's using Earl True Form. And that's kind of problematic. I don't like having one way to do stages. But there was also a Super Smash Families that I really liked playing. That one I liked playing because like it almost encourages using Ubers, but they don't carry all on their own. It's still strategy. Xenobun was the most fun I've ever had in Battle Cats. Xenobun was not fun because I cyber stacked for 2 of those stages, and then the other one I just destroyed the hard part by just one-shotting it with Kai. Like, Xenobun is a really cool boss, but thanks to the lack of explosion immune units at the time that I beat it, at least, I was not having that much fun, especially since, like, my biggest critique with those Brutal Advents is that none of those stages are particularly the hardest on their own. It's the fact that you're having to do 4 of them back to back in order to do it. Like, if you're going to have a big boss like Xenobun, I do not want to fight it 4 times. Give me one really well thought out stage rather than 4 pretty mediocre stages overall. Like, I don't like that they did it across 4 different stages. I don't like that. Is SSF the sunfish guy? I don't know what you're talking about. Because that guy was actually kind of fun. That guy was actually kind of fun. Because like he's unique, a unique enemy, you know? Not just overpowered thanks to an explosion. It was so fun being one of the people beating it without guides. I beat it without guides as well. Like one-shotting the Midnight D with Kai, that was a strat that I thought of just all on my own. Like that's fun. Strategy building is fun. But in stages like that where it's such bullshit if you don't use specific strategies, and like it's just such a long stage, like I might as well just cyberstack, because I remember specifically I cyberstacked for the first and third stage, and those were the main stages I hated, but I don't particularly remember either of the other stages except for the Midnight D, which I just one-shot with Kai. And like that was the most fun I had, was one-shotting that fucking Midnight D with Kai. Xenobun wasn't even OP. Did you use soap? I didn't use soap. That sounds weird out of context. Did you use soap, cat? Because I didn't use soap, and I soap is literally like the main #1 unit you wanted to have against that bitch. So if you're saying Xenobun wasn't even OP, you probably had soap. You probably had soap. Either that or you had some sort of carry, because there's no way in hell you're saying he wasn't OP. Explosion on its own is OP. I still don't have soap. Then what the fuck did you use to beat it and have the gall to say, nah, he wasn't OP? What did you use? Tell me. Just different units used, because I was about to say, and I didn't use Hyperstack. Who did you use? I'm genuinely curious. Who did you use in order to say that Xenobun wasn't OP? Trying to find my SS because it's not on right now. You don't even remember? If you don't remember who you used, how do you not? How do you know that he wasn't OP? If you don't remember who you used, how do you know he wasn't OP?
Let Chase and Dash Pass handle the day today. Out of coffee, need dinner in a pinch, or just craving a
Am I
sweet
crazy?
treat? When you unlock free Dash Pass with your eligible Chase
Am I the
card,
crazy one?
you'll enjoy zero delivery fees and reduced service fees on eligible
Also,
Dash orders.
who is OP by your logic?
Monthly or quarterly
Because Xenobeast is one of the strongest enemies by far
and more. With Chase
in
Dash Pass,
the entirety of
always
Battlecats.
in season. Cards issued by
Because he has a lot of HP, he has a lot of bulk, he has a shit ton of damage with something that not a lot of units are immune to, especially on release. And he's immune to a lot of CC. I think he's immune to... I want to say he's immune to freeze and knockback. And wasn't he also immune to wave? Or something? I don't remember. Ads. Second W. I'm gonna do something. You know what? Scratch that. I'm not gonna do anything. That's not what I meant to do. I don't want to lag my stream. So I'm not actually going to do what I was going to do, which was open a whole fucking browser. You know, I'm just gonna look it up on my phone. Xenobeast Bun isn't OP. Yeah, fucking right. Because remember, on release, we had like literally nothing that was explosion immune. Which means pretty much everything died. Imagine they're like, oh, I used Cosmo. Swear to God if they said that. Bro had 400 attack range with an Omni Strike that hit up to 450. I'm asking generally, what the fuck did you use against Xenobeast to make you think that he's not OP? He has 3.6 million HP, 400 standing range, 450 Omni Strike. He had a crit chance, which could just every 5 attacks on average, he was doing double the damage, which by the way carries over to the explosion. His base damage was 48,000 damage per hit. That's already one-shotting meat shields, as if the explosion wasn't strong enough as is. He is immune to knockback and freeze, and he only has 4 knockbacks, so you can't even really bully him, because that's 900,000 HP per knockback. And you have the gall to tell me, Xenobeast isn't OP. Really? You're going to use one of the very few units that can actually stay safe from his explosion. And then also use an Ultra Form on top of that. And be like, he wasn't OP. He wasn't OP. Yeah. Everybody has Lufalan and very specifically Ultra Form Black Cat. Everybody has Lumina, a legend rare that's specifically anti-alien. Everybody has those. Lufalan was not safe from this shit, then why the fuck did you use him? And if that's the case, how the fuck is Xenobeast not OP? That's the main thing I'm asking. How is Xenobeast Bunagleos not OP? To clear out the Croco thing, I literally used Kana for that. I don't want to hear Xenobeast isn't OP whenever you're, you know... I don't want to hear that. I want to hear why he's not OP. I need to hear why he's not OP. Also, Lufalan is definitely not the best way to do that. I don't know what the hell you were on when you used him for that. I just didn't find him OP. I don't know what you want me to say. Do you remember beating him? Because as an enemy, that you have to be in 4 different stages. How do you not find him OP? Really high level rovers? You can still have fun against an OP enemy, bro. Just admit he's OP. Just admit it, bro. 400 standing range on a Bun that has Omni Strike. But to me, he wasn't. Who do you find OP then? Like, I'm genuinely curious. Because in the grand scheme of things, OP is, you know, relative to everything else. So who is OP in your mind? Because then we can talk. Because, like, if nothing's OP in your mind, then that's just, you know, everything's easy. Let me go check the enemy guide. So then nothing's OP. So you're just boring. You don't find anything technically OP. Xenobon was really manageable? Yeah, so the fuck is everything else? You just don't remember much about some enemies? That's fair. But, like, I'd definitely argue that Xenobeast is one of the strongest enemies in the game. And so, like, at what level does it become OP? You know what I mean? Like, Deadly Stage, right? Those Brutal Advent stages have a 10-star stage, right? So for a 10-star stage, is Bunagleos still balanced? Or is he OP? Because it doesn't even necessarily have to be, like, for super endgame, right? Because Brutal Advents aren't necessarily endgame. The first stage in Brutal Advent, I believe, is 10 stars. AKA, it's along the same level as UL, even early UL. So, according to those standards, according to early UL standards, is he balanced or is he OP? Or is he somewhere in the middle? Because I can guarantee you one thing, he is not balanced. The stars don't mean much nowadays is the thing.
Starting route. Heavy rain reported.
Why do you think I'm emphasizing more on where in the game you are than the fucking stars themselves? Why do you think I'm mentioning early UL? Why do you think I'm mentioning that instead of just being like 10 stars? I'm saying 10 stars because 10 stars is what UL is. So early UL. As of early UL, do you think he is balanced? If he was in a UL stage, would you be like, yeah, this is fair? Or would you be like, this is busted? If the dude was the final boss of Cats of the Cosmos Chapter 3, would he be balanced or would he be OP? He's not equal to early UL though? But that's what his first stage is! His creation was already... Okay, just because something is created post-ZL does not mean it is meant for post-ZL. Do not get that mixed up. That does not mean that. There are multiple things that were added after ZL came around that are not meant for post-ZL. They are not meant for that. The final stage in the Brutal Advent, sure. But those stars, although they don't mean anything for difficulty, they do at least give you where in the game you're expected to be able to beat those stages. Because you can scale them with the star level of SOL and stuff. Which, by the way, how early can you access these Brutal Advents? Because they're not tied behind beating UL. So I do not want to hear, oh, you're not expected to beat them before UL. Because you absolutely can. It does when the enemies put in the stage are ZL level enemies. What the fuck makes them ZL level enemies? Because I can tell you one thing, most enemies that are introduced in ZL are not OP. They're not that powerful. They're actually weaker than what we've seen already introduced. Just at higher magnifications. So, like, what are you on? I still don't get your argument here, though. I don't get it. I don't get, like, how you can be like, yeah, it's not OP. But for a deadly stage, right? It's expected to be a deadly stage. The first Xenobeast Bunagleo stage is a deadly stage, technically. By technicality, it's expected to be the same difficulty or done at the same point in the game as other deadly stages. So, comparatively to other deadly stages, is he way too fucking strong or is he average? Because I can tell you one thing, not fucking average. The first stage was the easiest? Well, no shit, it's the first stage. But that doesn't mean it. You did it after you've already done all of that. If you were not as far into the game as you were, would you still have had as fun of a time? That's... You can absolutely beat that. I'm not asking if you can or can't. I'm asking if it would still be balanced. Or if it would be the same difficulty. I still think I would have, yes. Well, you can still have fun with harder stages. That's not necessarily what I meant. Oh, and by the way, you can just cyber stack it anyways. So you can probably beat that shit as early as... Not even in UL. So like beating it is obviously, you know, and then you can also Uber carry. So that's not a good argument of, oh yeah, I can beat it. I can have fun with it. It's a game. You can have fun doing anything. But is it on the same level as most other deadly stages, because I'm aware there are some deadly stages out there that are terrible, but there are also some really fucking easy ones, and a lot of them. So like, comparably to the average, you know, I would honestly argue some of the brutal advent stages have the hardest deadly stages. That's what I would argue. You think it's on the same level? Bitch. When they were made does not have anything to do with how hard it is. That has nothing to do with it. If they wanted it to be a harder stage, they would make it a harder difficulty in the star levels. That has nothing to do with anything. You don't just make something new, right? You don't just make something brand fucking new and be like, hey, you know, this is a 2-star difficulty stage. But that 2-star difficulty stage is 10 times harder than all of the other 2-star stages. That's not how that works. It would still be a 2-star stage. The time of release has nothing to do with how difficult the stage is. The red face that got power crept by courier. Power creep and difficulty are very different things. Just because something got power crept does not mean it is any less difficult. It just means it is easier to get around the difficulty. There is a difference. And by the way, Core's existence does not completely override, oh, Hanya's not difficult anymore, because the hard part about Hanya isn't even the fucking red. Power creep affects its difficulty according to the user, but according to just on paper how difficult is the stage, has nothing to do with it. Because I'm not even talking about units. Obviously, yes, like with... I never mentioned units once. So adding units to the argument is adding a completely other thing. There is not a difference. The stage is easier now. They're not changing the difficulty on any stages. They're not going to change the difficulty on a stage just because, oh, we released a new enemy. Or we released a new unit. We released a new Uber, so now we have to turn down the difficulty of everything. But, oh, you can handle 12-star stages now? Okay, that means that those 12-star stages are no longer 12-star. They are now 10-star because they're much easier than they would have been if you were at the beginning of the game. That has nothing to do with it. You unlocking level 50 units does not change the difficulty of stages from whenever you were locked to level 30s. It does not change anything. It doesn't change the stage at all. The stage is still the same difficulty, you just have better resources to deal with it. That does not change anything. I hate everything. This is a crazy argument to be having. Absolutely insane. I was cold earlier, by the way. Now I'm like sweating. Unlocking units to make the stage easier doesn't make it harder. That's, hey, that wasn't me saying that. Pro. Let's say tomorrow they add a whole new unit that completely destroys the entire game. Is every stage in the game automatically the easiest shit in the world? Or is it, you know, like if you had one unit in the game that made it so that everything was essentially equivalent to a 1-star stage, would you still say that everything is 1 star, or would you say that comparable to the previous stages, this stage is this difficult? Because having two stages in the same difficulty means that they should be in the same realm of difficulty, and they should be able to be done at the same time with a similar level of brain power, units, things like that. So having Korea as 1 star, and at like the first stage of UL, let's say it is, at the same equivalent difficulty of 1 star, right? Let's just say you can one-shot everything and kill the base super quick. Let's say you could have access to something that would allow you to do that. Those 2 stages still wouldn't be able to be the same star difficulty because of the difference between the stages themselves, not necessarily because of the difficulty of the stages for the player. Difficulty is not something based off of the player. The difficulty of a stage has nothing to do with the difficulty the stage is for the player. Based around what units we have now is although units don't make the stage easier, the requirements would go down, inherently making the stage easier. Your argument is that we're arguing about different things. You're the one misunderstanding me. I'm saying that in terms of stage difficulty, not according to the player, but in terms of the game, the difficulty does not change. Obviously, Courier made stages easier. Obviously. Because he's good, because that is Power Creep. Power Creep makes the game easier for the player, but it doesn't necessarily make the game easier in terms of the stages in the game. Are you getting what I'm saying? Also, Courier does not carry at all against Hanya. There are still struggles. There are still other struggles in the Hanya stage, even with Courier. I don't know why you guys keep using that as an example. The coded numbers in the game will not change because of the new units, but Power Creep makes the stages easier to beat, meaning the stages are inherently easier. But that's not how the... You're not... Why? Why? But we can both agree that the stage is still the same, right? And that its difficulty wouldn't go down just because of a new unit popping into the game? Especially since not everybody gets units at the same time. The average difficulty would get higher slightly over time because there are more and better units to compensate. You're acting like all the enemies they make in the game are harder. Not necessarily the case other than bosses, which they are trying to do to make them harder because they're newer enemies. But that Alien Ostrich, right? That Alien Ost that they added, that's a unit that we see early into the game as well. It's not just ZL, it's earlier into the game as well. They won't add it to SOL or UL, of course, because those stages are already made. But we've seen it in other event stages that are lower difficulty, and it's not a hard enemy at all. So saying that over time enemies are just inherently stronger than the ones that were created back then, that's just inherently flawed. Easier stages equals easier to bait. That's what? If a power crept unit that is easy to unlock in early game for all players is added, the difficulty, not the start level of the stage, becomes easier since it is now easier to beat. Yes, but then that stage relatively to the other stages of its kind are still the same. You know what I mean? This argument started with me saying that the first level of Xenobeast Bunagleos is harder than the other deadly stages in the game, right? So even with your argument, if all deadly stages are toned down thanks to recent power creep, including the Xenobeast Bunagleos one, then it would still be harder at a higher difficulty than the rest of the deadly stages, even though it was easier even though it would technically be, they would all be easier than they once were. So the whole start of this argument has been derailed, and you are just arguing for something that is completely unrelated at this point. An 8-star would then be would slightly be easier than an 8-star now, because what we have, and we will be able to do it at that point. Yeah, but it's still an 8-star because relatively to everything else, it is still an 8-star. Like, this is a hypothetical, but let's say Korea, right, is a 1-star, which means it's 1/8 the, the difficulty of another stage. The more power creep you get, the easier these stages are, right? So, like, honestly, we can change it from Korea, since that's a stage that's so easy. Let's change it to the moon. Chapter 3 Moon. Let's say it's, half as difficult as another stage. So let's just compare it to 3 difficulty to 6 difficulty. Let's just say that. Even though we get power creep like Courier, right? That makes the 6-star difficulty easier. It's still twice as difficult as the 3-star. Or somewhere, like, something like that, It's just, like, this is a very rough way of putting it, but let's say that is the case. The 3-star difficulty is still as difficult as other 3-star difficulties, and the 6-star difficulty is still as difficult as other 6-star difficulties. They're all easier now, but they are still relative to everything else. You see what I'm saying? Relative to everything else, they are still the same. My entire point was that these stages were added at different points in the game. They're not going to go back to old levels and make them harder to beat just because they added... You don't understand what I'm saying. Make them hard to beat just because they added a new easy unit to unlock to beat it. Would you consider the Hat Ticket Metal Phase stage a deadly stage? No, you wouldn't be, but it's still a deadly, and was deadly on release. No, it fucking wasn't. When it released, I'm willing to bet you could still just put out Catasaurus to kill it. It was never an actual deadly stage. That's a stupid argument. Would you consider the Metal Phase stage the same difficulty as Dabu? No. Like, yes, there are outliers, right? Yes, there are outliers. But to be fair, the Cyberface, that was never a deadly stage in terms of difficulty, let's be real. No matter what, you could always just exit the game, rejoin, and hope to get a crit on something like Catasaurus. It was never a deadly stage. That is a poor example. An extremely poor example. It's fine if the outlier is easier than the other deadly stages, but if the stage is considered harder, it's an issue. You're proving my point more. It's still a deadly stage, isn't it? The Xenobeast Bunagleos stage is still a deadly stage, isn't it? So therefore, it's still a deadly stage that isn't the same difficulty as other deadly stages. You proved my arguments. You proved me right by saying that. Do you not get what I'm saying? Xenobeast Bunagleos is a harder deadly stage than the other deadly stages in the game. Most of them. So you just proved that a deadly stage isn't the same difficulty, or doesn't have to be harder, or easy, like, it doesn't have to be set. You proved me right. Why were you arguing that stage difficulties mean nothing? Why were you arguing that? All I was saying is that Xenobeast is a more difficult stage than the other deadly things. Xenobeast is a harder, it's harder than other deadly things, but you can still do it earlier in the game. So it is technically overpowered because it is more powerful, way more powerful than the other things that you have access to at that point in the game. Therefore, overpowered. Stage difficulty doesn't mean anything, and my counter argument to that was that they still give you a relative designation of where in the game or when in the game you can beat the stage. So even though I changed the topic, you were stuck on that first thing you said. And you were arguing with me about something that had nothing to do with what I was arguing about. Is it at the same level as the other stages? Yeah, and that's what I'm arguing. It's not at the same level. It's harder than the other deadly stages, but but since it's a deadly stage, it's technically put in the same like location of the game as the others. Meaning, guess what? It's harder than average, aka he's overpowered. You're telling me what my point has been? How the fuck does that work? Okay, wait. So you're saying my point. It says deadly, but it's harder than others. Yeah. I wasn't necessarily that it had to be the same difficulty as the other deadlies. I'm saying that it's overpowered because of the point in the game it's in. So you, first of all, you were mistaking my point. And second of all, those points mean the same fucking thing. Yes, it's deadly, but it's harder than the others, which means that what the difficulty says doesn't actually mean anything. They mean the same thing. Saying deadly, but it's harder than the others, means the same thing as it says deadly, which means it's not the same difficulty, which means that since it's Xenobeast, you know, and facing danger, right? Since those two are the same difficulty, that word does not mean anything. Those 2 points mean the same thing. One's just a more broad statement, and the other one's a specific statement talking about Xenobeast. Those 2 points mean the same thing. You were arguing against a point that supported yours. You're trying to say that because they're named deadly, they should be around the same difficulty, right? No. No. I'm saying that they should... I'm saying that they're expected to be done at around the same point in the game. That has nothing to do with it. That is... The actual stage difficulty has nothing to do with it. I do agree with that, Jin. Is that he's OP compared to other deadly, not OP compared to current deadly? What? Current deadly and former deadly are all the same thing, essentially. Because like I don't think they changed any of them, or at least not a lot of them. So I don't know what you're saying. I have no idea. I do think it's mislabeled, but those labels mean that those labels more than anything else mean that Ponos expects you to be able to, you know, fight that stage at a certain point in the game. That's what they mean. It doesn't mean that they're the same difficulty. It just means at this point in the game, you can probably fight it. You know what I mean? Because like think about it. Merciless is probably late UL. Deadly is probably, you know, late SOL to mid UL. And then like Brutal is ZL, right? So like more than anything else, they just mean what point in the game are you expected to be able to fight them. They don't have anything to do with difficulty. I'm saying that other deadly stages have become easier to beat after time, while newer deadly stages are much harder since they have newer mechanics and different enemies that will have less counters. Yeah, but new enemies still have a lot of counters. Like it's not necessarily Bunagleos. Sorry, I'll just call him Xenobeast. It's not necessarily that he doesn't have a lot of counters, it's more so that Explosion doesn't have a lot of counters. And that's just how new gimmicks work. And so you're acting like, you know... I mean, what... You're acting like Xenobeast doesn't have counters. I know you guys can't hear. I'll wait to actually argue. Let me know when y'all are back from ads. I don't know if you can hear me, but ads over. Xenobeast can still be countered. So, like, it's not necessarily that, like, old units have more counters or anything. Like, a lot of it is probably, you know, new strategies and shit like that. Like, I'm sure Xenobeast is already much easier than it was before. Not necessarily because new units, you know, counter him, but because new strategies. I'm willing to bet. If you want an example of a deadly stage that's equal to Bunagleos, take Cappy Jr. on release. I don't care about on release. I don't care about on release. When a release was much harder, nowadays it's much easier to beat, and Xenobeast will also explore that exact same, you know, tone down. But I still think he'll be harder than the average deadly stage, even whenever he gets watered down. I'm not saying that he's only good because he's new. I'm saying you're the one that's acting like that. You're the one that's making it seem like you're the one that's making it seem like Xenobeast is only going to be strong because he's new. I still think he'll be strong after that. So I'm already assuming he's been watered down, and I'm still saying that he's overpowered compared to the other deadly bosses, even once he gets watered down. Even if none of the others were watered down, he's still much stronger than any of them. Even if it was on release compared to on release, Bunagleos would be one of the strongest. That's my argument. But Bunagleos was only harder on release? What do you mean was only harder on release? Look at most deadly stages in the game, right? And your argument's already flawed, because Bunagleos already, on release, was really fucking difficult. Yeah, so let's talk about Cappy Jr., right, with Surge? Let's talk about Cappy Jr. versus Bunagleos. Cappy Jr., we didn't have Rock at the time of his release, right? So we're talking about a unit or an enemy stage that could be carried by just spamming Cameraman. You're the one who brought that bitch up. On release, Cappy was difficult. But wasn't one of the first strategies just spamming Cameraman? So, like, are you gonna finish reading the message before saying my argument's flawed? To be fair, it's 2 messages. But Bunagleos was only harder on release. Wait, no. We're talking about some... No, I read all of it. No, I read it all. I just didn't read it all out loud. Why do I have to read something out loud in order for you to think that I read it? I read it all. My mind reads faster than my mouth, you know that, right? But yeah, like, if we're assuming it's on release, Xenobeast is still stronger than the others. You read the first part, responded, then read the second, is why I said it. Oh, well, stop being delayed. Imagine, loser. Stop kidding. But yeah, like, my take is that on release, Xenobeast would still one of the strongest deadly advents. Even comparing him to all the others on release. So therefore he's overpowered. Not because, like, he's, you know, the newest one. Especially since, frankly, all the other brutal bosses were not, you know, that difficult to me. Like, even Cappy Kawano. Honestly, comparing Xenobeast to Cappy Kawano is, like, pathetic. Because Kawano was just that much easier. In terms of his first stage, specifically. The only way I'd agree with it being harder once toned down would be if it wasn't put with a bunch of weak, traitless units. What was even its first stage? I don't even remember. But I remember cyber stacking for it. Let me look up. I still remember it being difficult. I would not have cyber stacked. I spent an hour beating that. I took an hour beating that stage and I finally decided to just cyber stack. So that's why I remember it being difficult. Notice how you said Wild Doge, which is still one of the most strong peons in the game. So it's not even just Xenobeast, it's also the fucking Wild Doge. That's, you know, OP.
Playlists uninterrupted, even offline. Enjoy 3 free months now and cancel anytime.
Bro, that Master A is 2000%. Yeah, but Courier, bro has a blind spot. Wild Doge is not immune to Courier. Or is not completely countered by Courier. And Haniwa. Haniwa does nothing against fucking Xenobeast. Courier barely does. By the way, it's a 200% Wild Doge in the stage. Yeah, that's the same difficulty as those for the Master A. You're not killing Xenobeast before you kill the Master A. You just aren't. Oh yeah, infinite Wild Doges, by the way. Infinite 200% Wild Doges. Yeah, that's the same difficulty as... What other deadly advents are there? Remember Bomber Girl? Yeah. Fucking Baku. Or whatever the fuck that thing's name is. You know, the big fucking elephant? Was that, was that very difficult on release? Was Queen Bee very difficult on release when I'm fairly certain Fishman already existed? You're telling me 200% Wild Doges was the same difficulty as that shit on release? The reason the stage was hard was because the Master A and Wild Doge help Xenobeast push forward. Because well, are we not talking about the stage? Since when are we not talking about the stage? If we're talking about units compared to units, obviously Xenobeast is OP. 400 standing range, 9,000 base DPS without explosion. With explosion, it's like 20,000. With Omni Strike that can pierce, with 3.6 million HP. If we're talking about the unit, if we're talking about the enemy unit, obviously Xenobeast is stronger. Talking about Haniwa, not the stage? Yeah, but Haniwa's so slow, right? And we'll just get one tapped by Xenobeast's explosion. That I think you'd be better off just using Jiangshi. Oh, you know what? Behemoth Slayer Dodge, honestly. Behemoth Slayer Dodge might actually be the savior there. Not even the resist against Traitless. But yeah, the Anteater is slower than Bunagleos, so Haniwa would not help against that. I got raided? Thank you. Welcome Raiders. Fishman was not around with Queen Bee? Yeah, but Swimmer was. Soap was in the game whenever Xenobeast was there, right? Hello, Kilo. Hello, Beckett. Thanks you for the raid. That's an interesting raid notification noise. I played... Whenever I added that to my stream, I just played Undertale. So, kind of made sense. Soap existed? Yeah, I think, yeah. See, I never used Soap against Bunagleos, so I don't actually know, like, the ease of him, because Soap, honestly, is a pretty fucking hard thing to get. Like, I don't know a lot of people that got Soap, like, whenever it released. Like, because beating all those Behemoth stages kind of takes a while. But yeah, I still don't think, because like Soap didn't absolutely carry, but he did do a lot. So like, I just used Haniwa for the first level and Jiangshi for the second, then Rover for the last two. Yeah. Which, by the way, you're never going to recover from the fact that you use an Ultra Form against them. Ultra Forms are not something you can even do before beating UL. So, like, you kind of have an overall base advantage there, just because like you were way later into the game, whenever it came into the game. You know what I mean? So like can't overlook that. You don't know how hard a stage is for one point in the game whenever you didn't fight it at that point in the game. Because, like, honestly, though, if you tried to beat Xenobeast Bunagleos as a deadly stage, if you tried to beat it as a deadly stage whenever it released, right? If you tried to do that, would it be harder than the other deadly stages at that moment in time? That's over. At the end of the day, that's what this argument started out as, and that's what we derailed from. My bad for being good at the game. I'm saying have the ability to look at it in a different way than how you actually had it. Have an open mind, right? Have the ability to have a malleable mind and be able to get around the idea of, yeah, it probably would have been much harder if I was actually at that point of the game instead of super late into the game. You know what I mean? Like, instead of just being a brick wall that's like, nah, it would have still been the same difficulty as other bosses on release. You know? How's Return to Mode been going? It's been going good. It's mostly been a yap sesh, honestly. It is mostly a yap sesh where I just argue for no reason. I cannot look at it a different way when it was literally a year ago. If it was Widowy a year ago, then how the fuck are you arguing with me in the first place? This shit was my job for the last year. And you're going to argue with me about something that you haven't even experienced in a year? Crazy work. Like, I love arguing, but it's the funniest thing when somebody tries to argue for no reason more than just arguing. Because I learn things from arguing. I would love to hear an actual reason why Xenobeast isn't a harder than average / OP boss for whenever you can first start to fight him. I would love to hear an actual reason. But as of right now, your argument is just, oh, I was super late into the game whenever I fought him, so he was just not that bad. The same thing would go for literally any other deadly stage. You asked my opinion on if I think he was OP, and I said I don't think he was. He might have just had a skill issue. And then you're putting it off as a skill issue. I still beat the stages on my own without a strategy. I still beat the whole thing without an external strategy. I still did it all on my own. Without Soak, which is like the #1 carry against it. And without an Ultra Form. You know? Because he isn't, and that's where I get you. You're acting like your opinion is a fact. I asked your opinion. I did not ask you to state a fact. I asked for your opinion. And you're saying because he isn't. To you he isn't. And you're acting like that's a fact. That's where most arguments take a U-turn. The moment you say something as if it's your opinion, even though the way you phrase it means it's a fact, because it's my job, I'm saying you're disagreeing with me on the basis of, oh, Your Honor, it was a year ago. My basis is, you know, who's more reliable? The one whose job it is? Or, by the way, I'm just saying it's harder than most. Most deadly stages. Do you know how many deadly stages there are? Do you know how many deadly stages there are? In Bunagleo's first stage, which is a deadly stage, supposedly, it has a 200% wild doge that is infinite, with a 2000% anteater, right? I'm saying that that is harder than most deadly stages. That's almost certainly a fact. Am I wrong? I think that opinion, it might be the hardest deadly stage. Might be. Thank you for saying it in an opinion way. You do that better than I do. I think, and by the way, every time I say something, I say I think. I think, you know? Every time I've been saying my opinion, I've been saying I think. I think that it is. I think that it is. You saying, but it isn't, that's fact statement. You have to have I think, or it's my opinion that, you know? You gotta specify. I think, therefore it is. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. I'm teaching y'all how to argue here. You gotta be sure to emphasize and enunciate the fact that it is your opinion whenever you're saying these things. Otherwise, you'll lose an argument. Bunaglyos is OP, and no. The discussion has been Bunaglyos is a harder than average deadly boss. He is a harder than deadly, or he is harder than the average deadly boss. Opinion. Just like how my opinion is that Consort Radahn isn't as hard as most people think. But that was also because of my experience. So, from my experience, he is a Xenobeast is a harder boss than the average deadly thing, and that is after years of playing a bunch of different deadly stages and like and looking at them and being like, yeah, you know, that's a fucking difficult deadly stage, even comparing it to the other brutal advent stages. So I know I'm bad at phrasing it this way. I'm, hypocritical. I'm also doing the same thing you are. But I've also played the game more recently. And I've also played it probably more. So like that's not justifying anything, but it is my opinion. I want to say that now. It's both of our opinions. It's both of our opinions. Yeah, it's clearly your opinion. Video essays, you try to be careful with how you phrase things. Phrasing is very important. Phrasing is very important. I'm learning. You're learning, It's all there. I can nearly guarantee every single person can agree that Bunaglyos would be 100 times easier if paired with units that didn't push him for... But how does that have anything to do with anything? Bunaglyos isn't OP. He's paired with the units that make him seem OP due to how fast they push. But by that argument, isn't Cappy the easiest fucking thing of all time? Because you just spam rock and he's perfectly stunned, or Cameraman can just be spammed and he's dead. Like, every stage relies on the enemy composition in order to make them difficult. So there is no such thing as a, one OP enemy, unless you compare individual enemies to other individual enemies. And from there, I can say the idea of having a Xenobeast, right? 400 standing range, with 50 forward piercing, with 9,000 base DPS, not counting his explosion, which, by the way, his explosion gives him much more Omni than his Omni Strike, and then that causing him to essentially have 20,000 DPS, 3.6 million HP, and not terrible speed with immune to freeze and knockback. Based off of that stuff alone, he is much stronger than a lot of deadly advents, even just talking about individual enemies. So I would still say that is overpowered, because it's not compared to how hard he is to beat, but he's compared to the other enemies that you face alongside him. You see what I mean? Yeah. I've said Bunaglyos isn't OP. Yeah. And then you say, and that you found the stage fun. Rephrase that. Rephrase that as, I found that Bunaglyos isn't OP, and so I found the stage fun. If you rephrase it, it won't sound, so much like a fact. Like, I'm trying to teach you something here, because obviously this isn't personal, at least not with me. I don't think of it as personal, I think it's just an argument. And so, sometimes I get heated in arguments, but like, that's fleeting. I don't actually care that much. But you can learn something from this. Phrasing is fucking important. But it is a fact I did have fun. Yeah, but your phrasing made it seem like it was an opinion that you had fun. But it's a fact that, because look at the phrasing again. I want you to look at the phrasing again. I want you to, hear me saying it. I said that Bunaglyos isn't OP, and I found the stage fun. Bunaglyos isn't OP is one phrase, and I found the stage fun is a second phrase. One's an opinion, one's a fact. One's a factual statement, one's an opinion statement. Do you hear the difference? Bunaglyos is not OP. I found the stage fun. You see what I mean? The phrasing is important there. I sound like an English teacher, I know, but like, I'm teaching you something here. This is English. You live in the same country as I do. I know, or at least you live in this close to the same time zone. I think same country. I'm not giving you the benefit of the doubt. Oh, you don't speak English primarily, because I'm fairly certain you do. I'm fairly certain you do. I'm not American, so no. Wait, but is your primary language not English? I mean, this is still something you can learn, but still. French? Ah, oui, oui. Yeah, but still, you can still learn this, right? Like, it's still something to learn. Yeah, see, isn't OP, I found the stage fun. That's still... Like, you can still learn this thing, though, right? You still know the difference between a factual statement and an opinion statement, right? And so I'm trying to tell you phrasing, you know? It's still valuable information to learn in terms of phrasing if you want to become, like, an argumenter or a debater or something. Like, if you want to talk about things like this, or if you want to debate things like this and, you know, learning that is going to be valuable. Learning the difference. Even if English isn't your primary language. So that's my bad. Sorry for assuming. Baguette. I mean this with all respect, by the way. If I'm the one that's lost the plot, you can just say argument's over and I'll be like, okay. That's, you know what? I need a safe word with my chat. If there's ever an argument that's gone too long and, you know, between me and the person that's arguing, one of us just wants to quit, we need a safe word. We need a safe word so that we know, like, okay, yeah, you know what, let's just stop. I need that. Maybe it can be French. Pro fluff. Pro. You're doing it again. You're acting like your opinion's fact. This is exactly what I was talking about earlier. Because, like I said with the whole Cappy thing, like, units themselves genuinely just can't be OP by that argument. Like, because there's so many, you know, cat units in the game now that everything can be countered by 1 or 2 units. So, like, that's a terrible argument. I'm sorry, but it just is. Is it not a fact that the reason he pushes forward so much is due to the units behind him? No, because his explosion allows for him to destroy the meat shields behind. So, like, you know, especially with his Omni. So, like, let's say you don't time your meat shields, right? Let's say you don't time your meat shields. Then he can push you on his own. Let's say you only use Soap. Then I think Soap still dies without the weaken. Yes, and he does that once every 5 seconds. Do you know how many hard-hitting bosses out there? Luza. Newton. There's so many bosses in the game that do that. And so it's, you know, stupid to say that the boss itself isn't OP, because, like, yes, every unit on their own has a balancing factor that makes it so that they're not OP on their own. Otherwise, they could just have a stage completely on their own. When was the last time you ran into a boss stage where the only enemy was the boss? And that stage was actually difficult? It's the owl behind him that causes the surges? I wasn't even talking about that fucking Luza. I was talking about Zero Luza. Just whatever. That's besides the point. But yeah. So, like, at least 3 months ago? What stage did you fight that was only one enemy, and that it was only that one enemy that made the stage difficult? Because honestly, Socrates, I would give you that. Socrates isn't a fucking deadly stage. It is all the way in ZL. It was at least about 3 months since I played Battlecats. Oh, yeah. Whenever you said at least 3 months ago, it's been at least 3 months. Yeah. I'm stupid. Having one enemy be able to solo push themselves would make them incredibly boring. Even AV Unit 13 False Evolution can still be stalled if there is no peons. Yeah. So like that whole argument, oh, you know, Xenobeast isn't an OP enemy, but his stage is still way harder than most, you know, that you know are supposed to be the same, you know. You know, like it's still way stronger than, like, you know, like honestly, if you want a fair argument for Xenobeast, right, you can say, for argument, the first stages of each of the other Brutal Advents. And from my experience, Xenobeast is the hardest. Even just the first stage is the hardest of the 4. Is it 4? 5? I don't know. Of the Brutal stages. Of the Brutal Advent, sorry. So if you want it to be a fair comparison, you can just do that. If he's stronger than the rest, then that doesn't necessarily mean he's OP. But that does mean that he is more difficult. Isn't there an SOL stage exactly like that with just an Assassin Bear? That's not a single... First of all, that's not a single fucking boss. Like, at that point, the cat base is the boss. So, like, that's a shitty argument. Like, are you really so petty that you're actually trying to find something behind what I just said? Good job. You proved me wrong. Good job. You proved that one statement I made out of this entire argument wrong. I'm clapping for you. I know you can't hear it, but it's there. I'm just trying to remember if there are any like that. Only Socrates, and still he still had those black doges. So like, I don't think there's a single major boss in the game that is spawned by themselves, and that's why they're difficult. You know, I don't think there's a single one. Because even Bun Bun in EOC Chapter 3 was more than just Bun Bun. And like, sure, there's probably SOL stages, but whenever I say boss, I mean unique boss. Like Advent. Like, I don't mean like, oh, this black Bun Bun in this random ass stage, you know? Because that's not... Because whenever we're talking about like, oh, you know, strongest bosses, I'm not talking about Bun Bun. I guess Cyclones. I guess with Cyclones would count. That's an Advent. But honestly, none of them are... Honestly, Red Cyclone. Technically Big Sal. That's not an Advent, because it's not an event stage, it's specifically Legend. It's not an Advent. But he's also not spawned by himself. That stage would be really easy if the camels weren't there, because you could just kill the base then. So Big Sal is not that. Chapter are you in? I'm doing Into the Future. Chapter 1. So... Dubs. I don't even have Rover yet. Yeah, exactly. Pro. I'm using this information to disprove your point of Xenobeast isn't overpowered because he relies too much on the other enemies to be strong. Like, whenever I say Xenobeast, I'm mainly talking about the stage itself, not the enemy individually. You know what I mean? That's like, it's not, it's... I should be more specific. You know what? You're right. I should be more specific whenever I do things like that. My bad. But to be fair, the entire start of that argument was talking about the stage. So you saw that you were losing and you're like, you know what? I'm going to change up the argument so that I'm right. Because you literally admitted, yeah, we're talking about the stage, not the enemy. Earlier on in the argument, you were like, yeah, we're talking about the stage, not the individual enemy. And then you changed it back to the individual enemy. I love arguing with people that change the story. I never changed the argument. You said, how can you find the stage fun when he's so OP? Sorry, did you want me to be so specific as to it's so OP? By the way, you're holding on to that initial statement way too much. You're holding on to that initial statement so much. Especially since, I mean, was there not a moment when you were like, yeah, we're talking about the stage, not the enemy? Was there not a moment? Also, I just want to say, you're talking, okay, right here, I'm going to reply to this. You said stages here. You're talking about deadly stages, not deadly advent. So comparing them, you're talking about stages in this argument compared to the enemy, right? So that's already just a flawed argument. Keep stacking up for NASA? Huh? Oh, yeah. NASA's gonna... Oh, shit. Yeah, late into the future is gonna be tough. I'm gonna... Because I don't have any anti-aliens, so this will be rough. One can't see what you replied to, just see @ProFluff. Well, then tap on the message, or tap on my reply so that it sends you to the message. Neat how that works, huh? There is no reply. I don't have my stream open. I don't, bro. Whatever. If you want, you can just scroll up to see it. You specifically stated deadly stages instead of comparing deadly advent bosses to Xenobeast. So, like, we were comparing the stages to the enemy, to a specific enemy. That's not how comparisons work. That's not a fair argument. I have been talking about stages. I'm going to guess what you're replying to and say that was when we began talking about how the stage scales compared to other deadly stages. So then the argument has changed, and that means that what you just said about how you never changed the argument, it's already changed. So, like, you already, yet again, were wrong. Like, here's the thing. If you're going to say that you haven't changed the argument, and then you already lied about changing the argument, that's not going to make you a reliable debater. You know what I mean? That's not gonna make you seem like a reliable source. You know what I mean? Yes, and it was changed by you? The fuck? I wasn't changing the argument, I was providing separate points to support my argument. There's a difference. You're the one who's now saying it was never about the stage, it was always about Xenobeast, whenever we clearly were arguing about the stage from the first place. At least I was talking about the stage, not the specific enemy, because we all know that a specific individual enemy, one-on-one, is not that strong. Are you guys still on the same argument? Yes, because it's fun. Somebody start another argument and maybe we'll start arguing about something else, but like, it's a fun discussion. I find this fun. Do I agree that it is a harder stage compared to other deadly stages? Stage! Stage! Yes! Are you finally... Do you see it now, Mr. Krabs? I specifically said stage! Jesus Christ. Oh my god. Stage versus stage, bruh. Good fucking lord. We went from boss to stage when you said that? No. Even before that, I was talking about the stage. You just don't know how to... Ever since I said Xenobeast was OP, which was what started the argument, I was talking about the stage. I've already mentioned this. I've already clarified that yes, I acknowledge that Xenobeast on his own is not necessarily OP. I've already acknowledged that. But then I added the hypothetical argument that said... I added the hypothetical argument that if I was talking about the individual, it would still be somewhat justifiable. You might have meant the stage, but your words all pointed to the boss. Okay. That is my bad. But to be fair, whenever I'm talking, I don't want to... Every time I mention the stage, I don't want to be like the first stage of Xenobeast Bunagleos. I don't want to say that every time. I want to just say Xenobeast. because it's shorter. So my bad. That is my bad. I am sorry for not being specific enough. And I already said I'm sorry for not being specific enough. And then the argument continued after that, and we still got confused. That's great. Could have told me that an hour ago. I told you that like 30 minutes ago. I'm not though. Like I didn't. What do you? I did clarify that earlier. Am I wrong? I'm fairly certain I clarified that earlier. Also, I don't have a critter, so I literally have to brute force this bitch. You told me that like 8 sentences ago? Who the fuck is counting sentences? Oh my god. And I'm talking about the individual enemy? What? Actually, it was 58 words ago? Yeah. Crazy. 14 sentences ago, not 30 minutes? How long are my sentences? Because I can guarantee I have a lot of run-on sentences. So, like, they could have been 2-minute long sentences for all you know. And there could have been breaks between. Bit of a difference. I actually have the glasses for this. Like, bro, are you seriously being... You're so specific. I hate arguing with specific people. Especially whenever you can't just admit it's your opinion that he's not overpowered. It is your opinion. So, like, if you're going to be so fucking specific, why don't you be specific about your own fucking statements, please? No, my sentences? Are you going back up and counting? I just don't have timestamps of when the messages were sent. Me neither. Which is exactly why I'm pretty sure it wasn't just a minute or two ago. You know? I'm pretty sure it was a decent amount of time ago before this point in the argument where it's more so you arguing against my logic than anything else. Which, honestly, once we got to the point of, yeah, we're talking about the same thing now, we could have just ended it there. Once you understood that I was talking about the stage itself, you could have either said, yeah, I agree, or we still, you know, did that entire argument for the same reason, aka we started it off on the same basis. And, you know, we were arguing about the right thing. You just got confused halfway through. When you replied to me? No, I clarified I was talking about the stage way before that. Because I kept on mentioning the stage whenever I was comparing it to other things. I was just calling it Xenobeast. I'm fairly certain before that I did clarify. The first stage of the... I've said it like a million times today already, even though I didn't say it every time I mentioned it. I absolutely said multiple times earlier today. The first stage of the Xenobeast Bunagleos is a harder deadly stage than most deadly stages. I definitely said that at least once or twice. I agree you got confused halfway through. Okay, let's agree to end this, but I do want to know, everybody else listening, what are your guys' thoughts? I won't argue against anything else. I won't argue against anything else pertaining to this argument. Pro, you will get timed out if you continue this argument, because I'm tired of it now. But anybody else, what are your guys' thoughts? Do you have directly or not? So, Pro, you're literally agreeing with exactly with what I said 2 seconds ago, or 2 sentences ago, which was when I said, you're arguing more against my logic than my actual argument. And so now it's just stupid. Because I already clarified, now you're just trying to make me seem stupid. Trying to prove me wrong. That's all you're trying. The worst way to argue is to just do it to try and prove somebody wrong. If you are arguing for the sole purpose of having the other person back down, that is a terrible reason to argue. Sorry, I said I won't speak anything else of it. I won't. I promise now. With this drink of water, I promise. I will not speak anything else on this topic. So how's your guys' day? Mm-hmm. I see now. Damn, I really said I wouldn't say anything else. Chat, do I have permission to say one more thing? Do I have permission to say one more thing, chat? Or like, if you guys say no, I actually won't say it. And I'll just move on. But do I have permission to say one more thing? No? Okay, cool. Does I need to go study? Yeah, your brain's probably fried from whatever the fuck just happened. That's fair. That would be fair. Yeah, say it. It's 1 against 1. Come on, somebody else say something. Somebody else say yes or no. It's gotta be majority. I have a linear algebra exam. A linear algebra exam? The fuck does that even mean? Are you gonna post this on YouTube? Probably on the second channel. That's like a VOD. Why are you saying hopefully? There's no way it's that good of content. I won't edit it. I never plan on editing any more BattleCat stuff. Like post-cal to math BS. Oh. I don't actually do all that stuff. Like I don't, you know, I don't do math. I don't do advanced math like that. He wants you to say yes to me whenever I ask to, if I could say my one last piece according to this, like, in relation to the conversation we were just having. Yeah, sure. Okay. One last thing. I'm not trying to argue, just trying to clarify. Why the fuck are you clarifying if once I clarified, you agreed with me? If you agreed with what I said after I clarified and you understood, why didn't you just admit that, you know, there was a confusion and that I was either right or the argument was the same? Because if either nothing would have changed after I clarified and the argument still would have been the same, or it would have just ended right there because technically they were agreeing with what I was saying, but trying to turn it into something else. But that's the last I'll say of it. Those are the only two outcomes that should have happened after I clarified. So, I've said my piece. Because once I clarified, I also understood. I also understood your clarification. You know? I already understood. Finally, we got confused instead of you being petty and saying, yeah, you got confused. Thank you. We're just trying to find where we got confused and see if we agreed at which point it was. Yeah. Absolutely. Finally, he said we. Chat, it's official. He said we instead of you. I'm petty. No matter how many times I say that you're petty, I'm absolutely pettier. And by the way, for just because clarification seems to be a word that's going around right now, I hate arguing. I would hate arguing with myself more than anybody else. I would absolutely hate arguing with myself more than anybody else I've argued with. So anything I've said to you, trust me, I'm aware I'm worse. That you got confused was just a retort when you said the same thing. Anyways, challenge, go study. Go study, boy. To be fair. Says under breath, I was never confused. Also, not having Rover is a huge problem. I'm doing no damage to these bitches.
Live in the spotlight
Uh,
with Spotify Premium. Build, curate,
is
and
that
listen to your playlists uninterrupted, even offline. Enjoy
is
3
this
free
where
months
the
now at
Into the
Tesla
Future
Anytime.
stuff ends?
Tap the banner to learn
Is
more.
this where the treasure grinding ends? How far did I even go? So that's 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38. Okay, so I got more than 3/4, 3/4. Yeah, 1% kind of crazy. That can wait? Well, I don't think it has to because I think I'm gonna end stream. Honestly, I'm just gonna do a roll for just for the fun of it, just for fun. Pro, nothing personal. See, this is what happens to people who win arguments. Anyways, nothing personal. Shakes hand. Nothing personal. It was a fun argument. There's no increased roll on this, by the way. There's no increased chance on this. This is just 5%. Let's look at the chances. Yeah, right here. It's just 5%. You're telling me I do one roll and I get easily the best thing I could have gotten in this entire set? Except for maybe Momoko, honestly. Nah, Momoko's not better than Balrog. That's actually insane. It's actually insane. Battlecat's question, is there a new fast super? Yes, and it's busted. Luno's is busted. Basically makes it so that you can't lose. In a lot of situations, at least. I think if something has LD or Omni Strike, it's not necessarily as effective, but we have yet another busted fest. So that's fun. I thought you were gonna go study, bitch. I mean, hey, I got some of the anti-alien treasures. Happy with that. I gotta grind to keep my streak of having all the fast supers. Damn. Can't wait for Dark Lunas. I don't know what they'll do. I mean, they'll have him his base form target everything that the white one didn't. You said you were ending? I'm ending after this conversation, right? Like, I'm not playing anymore, which means I'm ending soon. But so he'll target the things that the base one doesn't, but I'm assuming his conjure will be different. I'm assuming his conjure will be different, but I'm not gonna do a whole Dark Luno's prediction right now. 3 points, if any. That is so real. That is super real, actually. By the way, this will probably go on YouTube, but not for a couple days, just because I'm a little behind. Because I think tomorrow, one of the other streams is going up, so it'll either be Friday or Saturday, and it will be on the second channel, not the main channel. It'll be on the second channel. Remember that, second channel. These Battle Cats VODs will be going up. All right. So if you missed something in the stream that you want to go back through, or if you want to just re-listen to something that you thought was cool, then that's where you go. I don't know what the channels are. Brain Damage is the second channel. Brain Damage. It's in a link on my main channel somewhere. Yeah, 2 hours of arguing. Normal surge with freeze? That'd be busted. Your stupidity. Hey guys, stop being mean to Pro. Like, honestly, it was a fair argument. It was a fair argument. Like, neither one of us won. Neither one. It was an even argument. Like, it wasn't that serious. If I'm stupid, then what are you? You had him in the first half. And then once he started understanding what I was talking about, stop. Guys, stop. I'm gonna end stream so that you can't argue anymore. And leave my chat. I know you can stay in chat after I end stream, but leave so that you guys stop arguing.